are weeks away from Ghana's 8th elections, which will be held on the 7th of December. Despite the onset of COVID-19 this year, the two main political parties have launched their manifestos and to a large extent begun their campaigns. But what roles will minority political parties play? We find out in today's edition of Ghana Election Desk as we speak to a political analyst. After the break, I introduce my guest. My name is Lord Harris Idwasare. Welcome back. Our guest for today's edition of Ghana Election Desk is an associate professor at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. He's also the head of Youth Bridge Research Institute, Professor Ransford Gyampo. Prof, welcome and thanks for having us. You have a nice place.
Thank you.
Great. So we want to talk about the elections. I mean, we are just weeks away from the 2020 elections. There's been several discussions teeing up to that effect. Now, because we are weeks away, you know, minor political parties and their roles, they are still finding their grounds, as it were. What roles do you think they actually play in that regard?
Well, thank you. I think Ghana, per our constitutional provision, we are expected to be a multi-party democracy. But practically, given what is going on in fledgling democracies, including Ghana, technically we cannot call ourselves a multi-party democracy. In the strictest sense of, by way of definition, a multi-party democracy is a kind of an arrangement in which there are more than two political parties in existence, such that in any major electoral contestation, it becomes difficult for only one political party to win an election with a clear majority without the support of other minor political parties. And if you look at the history of Ghana's Fourth Republic, there were times that political parties needed support from other minor political parties to be able to win elections. But for some time now, I think from 2012, 2016, and some other previous years, you've had political parties winning, or the two main political parties that we have in Ghana, i.e. the NDC and MPP, being able to win elections without support of any minor political party. And so it tells you that if they can do it without these minor political parties, then the future of, then it means technically we are operating a two-party state. Don't forget that in countries that are referred or described, you know, per tradition as two-party states, they also have minor political parties. If you go to the US and if you go to the UK, they are essentially two-party states, but they have other minor political parties that exist to push certain agendas and interests. And so, in my view, we are gradually becoming a two-party state. But that doesn't mean that the minor political parties would have to be pushed into oblivion. I think to be able to remain relevant and to help us achieve our constitutional requirement of we being a multi-party democracy, for now, I want to believe a focus on winning parliamentary seats should be what should preoccupy them. It is not about stretching their capacities and ability so thin that you want to be all over the place and you want to contest the presidential seats that, in my view, would make them relevant. I think they should identify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 constituencies and try to see if they can win seats there. If you're able to win seats and you go to parliament and your parliamentarians are able to acquit and discharge themselves, they are able to articulate the issues in a manner that endears themselves to the Ghanaian citizenry or populace, then tomorrow you can come and say that, see our track record, you know, on the floor of parliament, we want to go for the presidency. Then people will take you serious. But it's like the minor political parties are all clamoring to the presidential seat. Everybody is eyeing it and all that. I know because of the all-powerful nature of the executive president, everybody wants to go there. But I'm saying that the future of smaller political parties in Ghana will remain bleak if they don't strategically position themselves and target parliamentary seats. That's where they have to focus. Try a few constituencies and try to win some seats. Build confidence, build recognition, endear yourself to the citizenry. And I think in some years to come, then we'll be able to have the needed third force that we are all talking about. If you speak to a lot of Ghanaians, they are telling you that they are tired of NDC MPP politics and they are looking for a third force. But parties that would want to parade themselves as third forces are also in a rush to gain recognition. You see, in our part of democracy, in transitional democracy generally, there is a problem of what we call lack of partisan de-alignment. What that means is that, you see, support basis of major political parties do not de-align. If somebody is a supporter of MPP, whatever happens, he remains MPP supporter. If he's a supporter of NDC, regardless of their performance in government or in opposition, they remain. Just as football support, I am a loyal Kotoko fan. Whatever you do, even if the team collapses, I'll remain Kotoko fan. I believe in Chelsea. Whatever you people are always, but I'll remain. The same thing happens in politics. Okay. An MPP supporter remains MPP supporter. NDC supporter remains NDC. You see, sometimes they are angry at about their own party support base. As a researcher, speaking to a lot of people who are saying, yes, I like this party, we voted for this party, but I'm disappointed. And so I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to vote for my own party. I'm also not going to vote for the other political party. I'm actually not going to vote. And I tell them that they are lying. You see, because we are overly partisan to the point that even when we don't want to be partisan, we do it. It will take the singing of the national of the campaign song of the NDC or of the campaign song of the MPP, and people will be aroused. So if you hear the Joel Aka's composed national anthem for the NDC, and then you hear na 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 or wina, you hear these things, and those who say they will not even vote, okay, all of a sudden they are aroused, and then they want to vote. But you see, when that happens, okay, it becomes difficult for the minor political parties to also garner some support, because the core of the support base are divided into NDC and MPP. Nobody wants to move from these parties to go support the minor political parties. And so that's why I'm saying that in their own interest, they must focus on targeting parliamentary seats. Go to the various constituencies, get 1 or 2 seats, make sure you get MPs there, let them go to the floor of parliament, let them go and excel themselves. And once they excel themselves, you carve a niche for yourself. And tomorrow, if you are asking Ghanaians that you have arrived to constitute yourself into a third force, people may take you seriously.
You state, of course, you stated that they need to capitalize on the parliamentary bit. So do you think that the key way to get that happening is to capitalize on the skirt and blouse?
The phenomenon of skirt and blouse is it's good. It shows a level of rationality and objectivity in deciding who must vote for and all that. But yes, if you go to the constituency and you get people who are very much qualified, and you put them there at the various constituency, then I agree with you. People may want to say, maybe at the level of the presidency, want to vote for our preferred political party. But let's talk about parliament. In parliament, we feel that because over the years we've had people who are solid candidates who go for the presidential elections. But if you talk about the parliamentary candidates that they put out there in the various constituencies, you see that they are with the greatest of respect, but some are substandard in terms of pedigree and in terms of their ability to be able to represent and serve the people well. Once we vote for MPP at the presidential level, we want to root for NDC at the presidential level. Sometimes people do not care about who is thrown to them at the parliamentary level. So it's NDC or MPP. But I'm saying that if minor political parties will get top-notch, accomplished people in society, people who have the knack for representation, people who have what it takes to serve constituent interest, if they are able to get them and send them to the constituency, then like you said, we may gradually be encouraging skirt and blouse voting, where we would also even force political parties to sit up in bringing up quality people to contest parliamentary seats, because for some time now it's been all effort and concentration is on the at the level of presidency, but at the parliamentary level, if you're able to buy your way through, regardless of whether you can do the work or you won't be able to do the work, they send you there. But minor political parties must target accomplished people and get them to the constituencies, and in that case force Ghanaians to vote for a presidential candidate and then vote for a parliamentary candidate who is different from the presidential candidate in terms of the parties they belong to, and then let these people go to parliament to serve Ghana. And I'm sure that as they serve Ghana and creditably discharge and acquit and discharge their duties in a manner that endears themselves to Ghanaians, then the fortunes of minor political parties will be enhanced, because people will see that they are serious.
There's been the debates about how they can go about it. I mean the minority parties, because so people have also proposed that they merge up. As it stands now, we have several minority political parties who become really pinpoints to be the third force, right? How, apart from the fact that they can merge, how else can they go about it?
Well, I think the most important approach is for them to come together for now, because even if you come together, you are still not a force, a true force to be reckoned with when we compare you to the two main political parties. And so even when they come together, they will still not be that strong, okay? Because it's a fledgling democracy. People are now thinking about how they would switch camp and give their support to other political parties. And so if coming together would not be the foolproof or wouldn't be the full solution, it will still take time, then remaining Lilliputian political parties, small political parties, and so divided and all that, only tells us that some of them and some of their leaders are just greedy, and they are just greedy and thinking that they can easily get political power and get the benefits that are associated with political power. But the point is that it doesn't show seriousness. It only portrays a certain political greed. Otherwise, come together. Let them all come together. And we've been talking about the measure of smaller political parties for a very long time, particularly among the Nkrumahs, people of the Nkrumahs tradition. I mean, they've been talking about it. By my view, everybody wants to lead a political party. Everybody wants to also say that me too. When we were in secondary school, they used to say I was there some. So me too, when they are writing the history of Ghana's political history, they will say that me too, I contest. And that's for me, that doesn't show seriousness. If we really are interested in a third force, then let the minor political parties come together in number one. Let them target some seats in the various constituencies, win members of parliament there, and then with time, people will see that they are serious, and the idea that we want a third force will become so real.
We'll take a very quick break. When we return, Prof will tell us some of the decisions that the EC has made that he's not very pleased about.
Powers and principalities.
There's so much fire inside me.
Tragedy struck when part of the largest hillside at the kosher rubbish dump collapsed.
It's gonna be fun. approaching this game.
Welcome back. This is Ghana's election desk, and we are speaking to Professor Ransford Gyampo. Prof, let's talk about the electoral body, electoral commission, and the head and the chairman or the chairperson, Madam Jean Mensa. You indicated that there are some of the decisions that she took as the chair that you weren't, of course, you don't agree with. Enlighten us. On that front.
It's not a. The point is this, you know, I worked with Jim Mensa for 14 years.
IE, yes.
At the IE. And so, for me, I have no problems with her at all. She's a doer. And if she means to do something, she will do it and do it well. She does not tick the box. She doesn't tick boxes, okay? At the IE, we used to call it maye. They've given you a task to do and you say maye, maye. And you have to, no. She's not a maye woman. She puts her soul in everything she does, and for her integrity and her competence and all that. The political parties themselves, they know her because they've related with her under the Ghana Political Parties program for over 10 years, and they know her competence. It's just that, you see, when you are looking for power, there are things that you see. When you are in power, there are things that you see. So the Electoral Commission, depending on which side of the divide you are, she's either in bed with the ruling party or she's in bed with the opposition and all that. I mean, this is about mere party politicking that doesn't sometimes make sense. That's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is a matter of principle. Okay, now, I said that I don't agree with all the things that the Electoral Commission, has done, particularly in the lead up to the 2020 elections. And one major thing that I want to talk about is, I'm talking about it just because I'm a principled person and I do not throw principles to the dogs when it matters. Okay, there are people, there are politicians, when they are in power, there's what they have, what they say when they get to a position. But I mean, a principle is a principle. The first time we compiled a biometric voters register was in 2012. Within that same year, we also created some additional constituencies. The compilation of voters register in the election year of 2012 the processes were fraught with rancor, acrimony, tension, violence, and all that. So that those of us who were watching said, hey, coming events, they say, cast their shadows. If this is what is going to happen just at voter registration, then the 2012 elections would be a bit, if you don't take care, it will be a bit chaotic, or there may be violence here and there. Thankfully, because of the proliferation of the peace industry, people are singing peace, dancing peace, airing peace, and saying so many things about peace. People are getting into forests and bushes, praying, yes way, praying, asking for God's intervention. You see, a democracy has not been consolidated anytime. Anytime there's going to be election, you have to go to the forest to pray that God should intervene. A democracy is consolidated when elections become seamless. You hold elections and it's like we have not even done anything.
It's not such a big deal.
You see, we had prepared the ground for that tension with the introduction of a biometric register in the election year of 2020. So that prepared our minds and ushered us into the post-2020 election regime of 8 months election petition. You see, when the election results got declared, some people were not happy. Some people felt it was rigged. And so you saw the violence, the brass sport violence. People wanted to mass up and go and do all manner of things and all that. But by the grace of God and by the leadership that was displayed by the opposition then, Nana Akufo-Addo and his team, they were able to call on their people to desist from what they had started the violent move that they have started, desist from it, and they decided to utilize the law courts. Now, so we were ushered into an 8-month election petition period. And you know that we were all sitting on time bomb. We were all scared of what was likely to happen. After the election petition, the Ghana Political Parties Program that I used to coordinate at the time, sponsored by the IEA, after the election petition, we brought all the political parties together and said the election petition processes at the Supreme Court had exposed monumental flaws in our electoral processes that we could not gloss over. And so something must be done proactively to reform our electoral processes so that the processes would always deliver results that would be acceptable to all political parties. So we sent the political parties, we sent representatives of the then political parties that had representation in parliament that constituted the nucleus of the IEA Ghana Political Parties Program. I'm talking about then the NDC, MPP, CPP, PNC. Beyond them, we sent representatives from all the political parties. We added them, and then we added representatives from the Electoral Commission, representatives from the National Commission for National Commission for Civic Education, some civil society leaders, some of you guys in the media. We sent all of them to Akosombo, Volta Hotel, to a retreat to review our electoral processes just for the purposes of looking for aspects that require reform so that we can make the proposals and submit them to the Electoral Commission for reform. The first day we went for the first weekend, the political parties, they went to fight. They just went to blame, accusations and counter accusations. But we understood them. The three people say, so let them vomit. After vomiting, they would not feel nausea again. So we allowed them to accuse them. But we went again. And this time, the second time, they were prepared to sit and to look at the aspects of our electoral processes that require reform. One of the things that they told us, they themselves, the politicians, the political parties, one of the things that they told us was that, look, we realized that the 2012 elections was almost marred by violence because of the kinds of activities that were introduced before the election itself. And what were the activities? Number one was the compilation of the voters' register in the election year.
Okay.
You understand? So the political parties themselves agreed that henceforth, immediately after every election, the Electoral Commission must come out with a timetable, calendar of activities that will detail everything that will have to be done from after the election to the next election. But the Electoral Commission must make sure that in the election year itself, it will not do any major electoral activity apart from the election itself.
Okay.
That's what they agreed. You
and
understand?
they were all on board.
They were all, you wait. That's what was agreed. That don't do any major election activity in the election year apart from the election itself. I.e., don't compile new voters register in the election year because we have a past, we have a history, and we know how it ended us. That's what we agreed on. Okay. Now, this particular proposal and other sets of proposals were put together, and I remember we presented these proposals. I did the presentation. I was flanked by Mr. Peter McMenu on my right, Mr. Siedun Keti on my left, Alhaji Ramadan was there, and all the leaders of political parties. We presented our proposals for electoral reforms at a press conference. Afterwards, we all drove in a convoy to the Electoral Commission and handed the proposals for electoral reforms to Afarijan. Afarijan, having received the proposals from the Ghana Political Parties Program, also invited other proposals for electoral reforms from all other Ghanaians, and people wrote. Subsequently, he constituted what we call the Electoral Reforms Committee, and by the grace of God, I was made a member of that Electoral Reforms Committee representing the IEA Ghana Political Parties Program. So we looked at all the various proposals that had been put together and had been submitted to the Electoral Commission, and then for the purposes of sifting through, seeing which one makes sense and which ones wouldn't make sense and which ones, we did all the work and put together our own report that encapsulated various proposals for electoral reforms. One of the proposals that could not slip away, which found itself also as part of the proposals we submitted final to Electoral Commission, which Afarijan agreed, wrote to us to also agree, was that don't do any major election activity in an election year. So I have a copy of that report in my office as I speak to you. Asiedun Ketia has a copy of that report. Mr. McMenu has a copy of that report. The Electoral Commission itself has a copy of that report. We submitted the report to them. It is there. So if we have said this, why should we all of a sudden forget? That is my basis of that this is what was agreed upon. And so I cannot pretend that there isn't anything like that agreement and all of a sudden, before the Electoral Commission says it is compiling a new voters register in an election year, I will applaud them. No. If you do so, you are not being principled. And so my point is that I disagreed with the compilation of a new voters register on grounds of principle, because we ourselves had agreed that we will not do that in a major election year. And that's the reason why I said I disagree with some of the decisions. And it is this one in particular, the fact that we chose to compile a new voters register in an election year as against what they themselves, as against the proposals for electoral reforms that they themselves have.
When that happened, when the Electoral Commission headed by Mensa announced that they were going to compile the new, did you speak to her? Did you personally contact her and talk to her about it? With the history that he had, looking at the fact that everything was discussed at the IEA and then this comes up. You've already stated that you were sort of disappointed, but did you take it up with her on a personal level?
Well, I think she's busy. She's not a friend to me. She's my sister. I see her as my elder sister.
Okay.
I know I told her several times that I wanted us to meet. She was to schedule or give me appointment and all. I cannot just bump into her because I know she's busy and all that. Several times that we postponed the appointment and all that, so we couldn't meet. But for me, subsequently, I started, speaking my mind about the process and all that, and so we could not meet. But I think my position on this is clear in the public domain, and that's
so
it.
As two individuals who are close, although you could not meet, there was no other way that you could have reached out to her or registered your, I don't want to say displeasure, but disappointment that she was.
It's not
going
about
back.
registering my this. And
the fact that she was doing the.
No, it's not about that. No, it's
agreed
not about that. You see, this particular proposal was actually sponsored by the IEE Ghana Political Parties
Which
program,
was the
and
head.
so she knows. It's not about remind. She knows already, and she has a copy and all that. And so yes, I wanted to meet with her. I couldn't get opportunity. Not that because she closed. I don't think she closed the door to me. I want to believe that she couldn't meet me because of the pressures, of the job and all that. That notwithstanding, occasionally we chat. She sends me, yesterday she sent me a WhatsApp. We relate cordially. But the point is, we are talking Ghana, and I wouldn't want to allow relationships to gag whatever I think I have to say to help Mother Ghana. And so I didn't like it. But whether I liked it or I didn't like it, the processes have gone on. You see, some of the challenges of the register having people who are not supposed to be there registered. I mean, this challenge has always been there, and this particular new register hasn't been immune from that challenge. It also has captured red people who are not supposed to be there, and they are. And so the point is, we cannot also, apart from my principled position, we cannot every now and then call for a new voters register when we ourselves, we are not prepared to prevent the kinds of things that corrupt the register we prepare. It doesn't make sense. It's the politicians who themselves would bus minors and foreigners to go to the various registration centers to go and register, to corrupt the integrity of the register. They themselves will do it, and they themselves will call for a new register. So how can we always call for a new register at all times and then wouldn't want to change what corrupt the credibility of the register? I mean, does it make sense to you? I'm asking you. Does it make sense? You do one thing over and over and over, expecting different results. When it was announced that the register that had been compiled still have some names that are not supposed to be there, minors are there, foreigners are there, somebody said then we want a new voters register. I was asking the person, if you prepare a new voters register tomorrow, will you be prepared to ensure that you do not take minors there?
But people take another angle at this, because if the IEA chairperson, right, at the time when the decision was taken, becomes an EC chair and is not able to enforce or make sure the register is not collated again in an election year, don't you think in subsequent years it's going to be a cycle? Because if someone who was championing it at the time is not able to enforce it.
No, but you see, the point is this. It was her organization that used to sponsor the Ghana Political Parties program.
Yes.
And so I'm saying she's aware of this particular proposal. For some reason, it was not enforced. And let's not forget that it is not every aspect of it's not every electoral reform proposal that we submitted that has been implemented. Some require changes in legislation, some are just changes to administrative practices and all that. So not all have been implemented. But my worry is I didn't see why I could clearly remember a proposal that we made and then it was being flouted and I would not be able to talk about it. And she, unfortunately, I couldn't meet her. But maybe she may have a better explanation as to why it was a proposal and they didn't go by it. Maybe there may be a superior explanation. But as far as I'm concerned, once I couldn't meet her and I knew and I still know that there was a proposal against what they did, I had every right to talk about it. You understand?
That aside, are there any other decisions that she's taken?
And this is a major. This is something major that I took a principal stance against. And beyond that, I think it's been so far so good. And this particular thing that I'm even talking against, it doesn't. It's not a dent on her competence or whatever. I'm saying she may have her own reasons. I don't know because I've not spoken to her. She herself has not publicly spoken about this. But the point is, I do not have problems with her competence and the fact that whether she could do it or she can't do it, it's not a question. I mean, I trust in her competence. I worked with her 14 years. I know what she's capable of doing. And that's the reason why, even though I do not agree with the voters register, voters registration process, you would agree with me that apart from some hitches, the processes themselves were also smooth.
There have been concerns that because of some of the violence in some areas during the collation of the voters register, it can serve as a precursor to violence in the December elections. Do you subscribe to that, or what do you make of it?
Well, every election that we have held since 1992 has witnessed some violence, okay, albeit on a low scale. And so, as a fledgling democracy, some of these things will happen. But we are hoping that as a nation we should grow so that we can have elections that will be seamless. We can have violence-free elections. So it is just our hope. And some of the interventions that are always activated in the lead up to elections is the peace industry. So National Peace Council will come and talk. Some individuals would also make their voices about the need for us to have peaceful elections known. And some of us too also had our voice and all that. So I'm hoping that we would be able to minimize violence in the lead up to elections and on the election day and also after elections. But let us hope that we climb the ladder of democratic progression very quickly so that we can be like other nations that conduct elections and the processes are seamless. You don't have to fight. It's just telling us who you want to lead you, and that's all. It shouldn't result in it.
You're hoping it will be peaceful, but because of some of the pockets of violence, do you see that happening? Do you think that, like you rightly said in 2012, because of some of the issues,
we will
that
hold
happened,
our elections. The nation Ghana would not relapse. We would not. There will be no implosion. we will not fight to destroy the democratic gains that we have made. Those who want to get injured, those who want to be violent, I mean, they would experience their own violence. But I think that a greater majority of the people of Ghana, we don't want to fight, and we don't want to destroy our gains. This is the only country that we have. I know a judge who was selling on the streets of Budubram because of conflict, the war there. And you would not be here, I would not be here if there is conflict, there is political conflict, and there is violence, and there is war. And so we should be talking to ourselves, and we should not take the peace that we have for granted. And so it is my hope, and I believe that, I mean, we would go through another successful election. Those who want to be injured will be injured, but me, I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to injure myself, and so I'll be free. So we're telling the young people that it is only those who want to be injured, and it is only those who want to die who will die. But if not, if the politicians aren't going to assemble their own children and their own relations and throw them out there to go and fight, then don't lend your support to any political party that will want to recruit you and incite you to be violent. No, don't do it.